Have you ever considered the profound impact of completely disappearing from someone's life? Not just a slight withdrawal, but a total vanishing act involving no texts, calls, or any form of contact whatsoever. And how might they genuinely grapple with your absence in a world where people often take others for granted? It's time to flip the script and explore the powerful concept of disappearing, a tactic that promises to fundamentally alter their perception of you. As when you remove yourself from their world, you aren't just physically absent, but you are pulling away all that you represented, the comfort, the validation, and the constant availability that they began to expect as a given, thus serving as a profound catalyst for change and self-reflection within them. This journey into absence reveals 9 intense emotional stages that they will inevitably navigate, providing you with a deep understanding of why sometimes the most impactful course of action is to simply walk away and never look back. The process often initiates with a potent sting of rejection, a sensation that resonates deeply when they least expect it, as in their minds, you are a constant, reliable presence who can always be counted upon, and when you shatter that expectation, the sudden shock of your absence is like a bucket of ice water to the face, an unexpected jolt that forces them to reevaluate their actions. The saying, "You never know what you have until it's gone," rings especially true, as your departure encompasses more than physical distance. It's the removal of everything you represented, the comfort, the validation, and the constant availability they took for granted, resulting in a deeply personal sense of rejection, where, for the first time, they realize that they don't have control over you, as people dislike admitting to it. But those who know someone will always be around often start treating them like a safety net, an option rather than a priority, and when you vanish, you yank that safety net right out from under them. And that's when the panic sets in, causing the sensation of free falling. The sting is amplified if you've consistently been emotionally available, as they've taken your love and presence as a given, assuming that you'd always be there, no matter what they did. They may have even believed they were doing you a favor by keeping you around, a tragic irony, as they thought they were giving you crumbs, but in reality, you were the one holding the relationship together, providing the emotional infrastructure. Therefore, to effectively deliver the sting of rejection, avoid any prior warning, refraining from announcing your departure, issuing ultimatums, or pleading for their attention. Instead, just go, disappearing without explanation, a move that lands harder because they never saw it coming, forcing them to reflect on their actions and sending a clear message that you're done being disrespected. A decision that prompts them to deal with the aftermath of losing someone they thought they had control over, someone who always stuck around, resulting in their world irrevocably changed by the absence of your steadfast presence. Think of it like removing a vital organ from a body. At first, the initial shock and trauma take precedence, but as the system stabilizes, the full realization of the organ's importance, its contribution to the overall health and well-being, becomes devastatingly clear. Your role in their life was likely far more significant than they acknowledged, and your absence serves as a stark reminder of their misjudgment. But it's not enough to simply disappear. You must also create an environment where self-reflection and accountability are unavoidable. This means resisting the urge to check in on them, to see if they're hurting or if they miss you. The temptation to peek at their social media, to ask mutual friends about them, must be resisted. The more distance you create, the more potent the sting of rejection becomes. Your silence speaks volumes, forcing them to confront their behavior without the distraction of your presence. The key is to allow them to marinate in their own thoughts, to grapple with the consequences of their actions. This is a difficult but essential step in reclaiming your power and setting the stage for the emotional stages to follow. Imagine a gardener who neglects a prized plant, assuming it will thrive regardless of their attention. Then, one day, the plant withers and dies. The gardener, initially dismissive, is now forced to confront their negligence. This is the essence of the sting of rejection, the realization that their actions, or lack thereof, directly led to the loss of something valuable. It's a painful but necessary awakening, one that can pave the way for growth and change if they are willing to embrace it. However, The sting of rejection is just the beginning, the initial prick that sets off a chain reaction of emotions. As time passes, a deeper, more unsettling feeling begins to emerge. The void of missing you, a sensation that cuts deeper than mere loneliness as you start to feel something else. Emptiness. And while they might have convinced themselves that they wouldn't care if you left, oh, if they leave, I'll just move on. But when you actually disappear, they feel the void, and it's not just any void. It's the kind that gnaws at them as they go about their day, doing the same things they always have. But something is missing. That's when they realize you were the one who added meaning to their life, bringing energy, warmth, and emotional stability to it, which they now must do without. Everything feels bland, and they realize the dynamic between you is irreplaceable. No one else brings what you did to their life, and while they might try to fill the void with someone new or distract themselves with friends, work, or hobbies, it's never the same. You brought a unique energy that made their life better, and the void only grows with each passing day, a constant presence eating away at them, even when they thought they could distract themselves, because that emptiness remains, reminding them of what they lost, and they never expected to feel this way about you. The irony is that they didn't appreciate you when they had you. They thought they could do better or that you'd always be around, but the moment you're gone, everything changes. They start missing the little things, the conversations, the laughs, the way you made them feel understood, as the small, everyday moments are what they crave the most, but you're not there to provide them anymore. Therefore, to amplify the emptiness caused by the sting of rejection and to make matters all that more real, ensure that you disappear in a way that leaves no room for them to find you. Block them on social media, delete their number, and make it impossible for them to casually check up on you, as the more they realize they can't access you, the deeper that void becomes. Each time they think of you and try to reach out only to find no trace of you, the emptiness grows. So, let them sit in that emptiness, and to remember that people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Let them miss you and feel the absence. The more they feel that void, the more they'll understand what you brought into their life. Think of the void as an echo chamber. Every activity they engage in, every person they interact with, only serves to amplify the sound of your absence. They may try to fill the space with noise, with distractions, but the echo of your absence persists, a constant reminder of what they have lost. It's like trying to enjoy a concert in a cathedral. The sound is overwhelming, but it lacks clarity and intimacy. They long for the quiet intimacy of your presence, the shared jokes, the knowing glances, the unspoken understanding that only you could provide. This longing fuels their desire to reconnect, to fill the void with your presence once more, but that option is no longer available to them, and that amplifies their feeling that they've lost something special. To truly amplify the void, you must resist the urge to provide any comfort or reassurance. Avoid liking their social media posts, responding to their emails, or engaging in any form of communication. Your silence is the most potent weapon, forcing them to confront the reality of your absence without any buffer or distraction. It's like a phantom limb. They can still feel your presence, but they can no longer reach out and touch it. This phantom limb sensation is a constant reminder of what they have lost, fueling their desire to reconnect and to fill the void that you have left behind. The void is not just about missing your presence. It's about missing the connection, the shared experiences, and the unique dynamic that you created together. It's a recognition that what they had with you was special, irreplaceable, and now irretrievably lost. This emptiness, however, will trigger overwhelming curiosity, as at this point they're deep in the void and starting to get desperate, and curiosity kicks in, becoming overwhelming as big questions now flood their mind. Where are they? What are they doing? Who are they with? Which become obsessions with knowing what's going on in your life because they no longer have access to you. Suddenly, you're a mystery, and nothing is more unsettling than not knowing what's happening with someone who was once so close, especially in this age of social media. As this stage is even more intense, and they'll check your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, every platform just to get a glimpse of what you're up to. But here's the kicker. You're not giving them anything as you've gone completely dark with no updates, stories, or posts. Why? Because human beings hate the unknown, and the moment you vanish, their mind starts running wild with questions, which create a space where insecurity can begin to set in. So what happens from here? Well, they start wondering if you've moved on and are they seeing someone else? Or are they better off without me? They can't handle not knowing, so they become fixated on finding answers. And this is when they might even reach out to mutual friends trying to get information about you. They'll ask questions, but be too proud to admit they care. It's almost tragic. Someone who thought they didn't need you now going out of their way to figure out what you're doing. The truth is, curiosity is a powerful emotion. And when someone can't get the answers they want, their mind fills in the gaps. They'll start imagining you with someone else, happier and more fulfilled without them. And that thought eats away at them day by day, turning curiosity into obsession. And here's the best part. The less they know, the more they want to know. You become the one thing they can't stop thinking about, which thus allows you to hold the power. To fuel their curiosity, become a ghost. Go completely off the grid, and don't post anything that could give them clues about your life, and let them wonder and stew in their own thoughts, trying to piece together what's happening. Every time they pick up their phone to check on you and find nothing, it'll drive them closer to the edge as you hold the power now, and their curiosity is your biggest asset. So don't give them answers, give them silence. Think of this stage as a detective novel. You are the missing person, and they're the increasingly desperate detective, trying to piece together clues to solve the mystery of your disappearance. Every dead end, every unanswered question, only fuels their obsession and intensifies their desire to find you. The key is to maintain the mystery, to avoid any slip-ups that could provide them with information. This means being careful about what you share with mutual friends, avoiding any online activity that could reveal your whereabouts, and resisting the urge to respond to their attempts to reach out. Your silence is the ultimate weapon, creating an environment of uncertainty that drives them to the brink of obsession. They may try to use reverse psychology, posting cryptic messages or photos designed to pique your interest. Resist the urge to react. Their goal is to draw you back into the game, to break your silence and regain control. The more you resist, the more powerful your silence becomes, amplifying their curiosity and fueling their desperation. This is not about playing games. It's about protecting your energy and maintaining your boundaries. You have made the decision to remove yourself from their life, and you must honor that decision, regardless of their attempts to lure you back. This stage is a test of your resolve, a chance to demonstrate that you are no longer susceptible to their manipulations. The more consistent you are in your silence, the more deeply they will feel the impact of your absence. Their curiosity will turn into a consuming obsession, a constant reminder of what they have lost and what they can no longer control. And as they grapple with the void you've left behind, another level of complexity emerges, deep self-reflection, entering into dangerous territory for them, where deep self-reflection begins, and it's not pretty. After days, or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing, they finally turn inward, starting to ask themselves hard questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? Which leads to regret, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. People don't like to admit when they've made mistakes. It's human nature, but when you disappear, you force them to confront those mistakes head-on, and without you there to reassure them or smooth things over, they're left to face their behavior, and it's not a pleasant experience. They start replaying every interaction in their mind, questioning whether they could have done things differently. They remember the times they ignored your texts, brushed off your feelings, and made you feel like an afterthought, and it hits them hard because deep down they know they had something good and took it for granted. Now they're stuck with their own thoughts, and those thoughts are brutal as this stage is powerful because it's internal, and they can't blame you anymore. You're not there to argue with or make excuses for them, and the only person they can blame is themselves, and that's a tough pill to swallow. As time goes on, the self-reflection deepens, and the more they reflect, the more they realize how much they messed up, and the guilt builds, and they start wishing they could go back in time and do things differently, but it's too late for that now. During this stage, therefore, don't reach out. Don't try to explain why you left or make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own, as self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize they were the reason things went wrong, and let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Once that guilt settles in, however, is when something new shifts, leading to the urge to pursue you. As now that they've spent enough time in self-reflection, something shifts inside them, and they go from questioning themselves to wanting you back. The tables have turned, and you were once the one who put in all the effort, who cared and pursued, but now it's their turn. The urge to pursue you becomes overwhelming. They can't stop thinking about you, can't stop wanting to reach out, and can't stop wondering if it's too late to make things right. They'll start sending those "I've been thinking about you" texts, liking your old Instagram posts, and maybe even leaving a comment just to see if you respond. They might send a late-night message after a few drinks, hoping to rekindle what was lost. Here's the thing. They're the ones chasing now, and they've gone from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back. And this is where you hold all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but you don't need to respond. In fact, you shouldn't. Let them feel the desperation and wonder if you've moved on, as the more they pursue, the more they realize they've lost control of the situation. They no longer hold the upper hand, and that drives them crazy. Think of this stage as a turning of the tide, where the pursuer becomes the pursued. They are now desperately seeking your attention, your validation, your return. The temptation to respond, to bask in their newfound interest, is strong, but it must be resisted. Giving in to their advances would only reinforce their belief that they can manipulate you, that they can regain control with a few carefully chosen words or gestures. The power lies in maintaining your silence, in allowing them to experience the full weight of their actions. This doesn't mean that you should be vindictive or cruel. It simply means that you should prioritize your own well-being and protect yourself from further emotional harm. You have made the decision to move on, and you must honor that decision, regardless of their attempts to lure you back into their orbit. This is a test of your self-worth, a chance to demonstrate that you are no longer willing to settle for less than you deserve. As they pursue you, they will reveal their true colors, their desperation, their vulnerability. This is valuable information, but it should not sway your decision. You have seen their behavior in the past, and you know that their promises of change may be fleeting. The most powerful response is no response at all. Let them chase, let them wonder, let them experience the frustration of wanting something they can no longer have. This is a crucial step in their journey of self-reflection, a chance for them to truly understand the impact of their actions. And as they try desperately to regain control, their own actions may backfire and enter a new stage, the battle between relief and regret. When you first disappear, they might feel a brief sense of relief, the initial feeling of freedom, and they tell themselves, finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore, and maybe they even feel good about it. But here's the thing about that so-called freedom. It's an illusion, as it feels exciting at first, but is superficial and temporary. They go out, hang with friends, and swipe through dating apps thinking everything's going to be fine. But as soon as they're alone, sitting in their quiet apartment or scrolling through their phone, regret starts creeping in. They begin to realize that freedom without you is actually emptiness, and the people they thought could replace you are just surface-level distractions. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It seems like a solution, but only leaves them more dehydrated and desperate. In today's world of casual dating and quick connections, people often think moving on is as simple as finding someone new, but it's not. They quickly learn that you can't replace someone who gave you emotional stability and a real connection with a quick fix or a meaningless fling, and that realization hits them hard. Therefore, let them experience that so-called freedom and don't rush back in when they start feeling regret. Let them sit in that empty space they thought would feel so liberating, and to remember the relief they initially feel is temporary, but your absence will haunt them in ways they never expected. The challenge, however, is that, as with many challenges that force people to face their insecurities, this period of relief can often be replaced with the desire to play the game, an urge that appears the moment regret settles in. leading to a space where they panic now and want to regain control, but they don't know how. So what do? They try to play games. They act distant on purpose, trying to make you jealous, post photos with other people, or create posts that make it look like they're happy without you. Maybe they share a cryptic status about moving on or post a selfie that's trying a little too hard. It's all an attempt to reel you back in and make you wonder what they're up to. But here's the thing. You're not playing anymore. You've outgrown the games, you're beyond that childish behavior, and don't even notice their petty attempts to provoke a reaction. And people think that manipulation through jealousy or playing hard to get will make you chase after them. But what happens when you've stopped chasing, when you're tired of the game? Well, they'll throw everything at you. Subtle digs, passive-aggressive comments, exaggerated social media posts, but none of it works. Think of this as their final, desperate attempt to regain control. They're like a puppeteer whose strings have been cut, flailing wildly to try and manipulate you from afar. The key is to recognize these tactics for what they are: transparent attempts to provoke a reaction, to draw you back into their web of manipulation. The most effective response is no response at all. Don't engage, don't comment, don't even acknowledge their existence. Your silence will speak volumes, conveying that you're no longer susceptible to their games. The challenge is to resist the urge to defend yourself, to explain your actions, or to set the record straight. Engaging in these conversations would only give them the attention they crave, reinforcing their belief that they can still manipulate you with their words. Instead, focus on your own journey, your own goals, and your own well-being. Let them stew in their own insecurities, knowing that their attempts to provoke you are falling flat. Remember that you're not responsible for their emotions or their actions. Their attempts to play games are a reflection of their own insecurities and their own inability to cope with your absence. By refusing to engage, you're sending a powerful message that you are no longer willing to be a pawn in their game. The most rewarding reaction is a lack of any reaction whatsoever, as in the absence of you providing any fuel to their flames. They move on to the next stage of the process, the crushing weight of silence. As silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use when you vanish, the absence of your words, your texts, and your presence speaks louder than anything you could ever say, leaving them with nothing but their own thoughts. And this is where it gets tough for them, because silence is so heavy, so unbearable that they start to question everything. And they think back to all the times they ignored your calls and all the times they were too busy to reply to your texts. Now, they would do anything to hear from you, a fact that is torturous for someone who's used to having control. They expect you to reach out, to ask what's wrong, and to beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? Or what happens when you disappear and they're left sitting in the quiet wondering if they've lost you for good? They can't comprehend it. Every minute without a word from you feels like a year, and the longer it goes, the more anxious they become. Therefore, in a world of constant communication where texts, calls, notifications, and instant gratification is common, everyone expects an immediate response. And when you don't give them that, they spiral because they're used to the noise of a relationship, the back and forth, even the arguments. But silence is deafening. Therefore, let your silence be your power. Don't break it. Don't explain yourself. And let them feel the weight of their own actions through the absence of your words, as they'll soon realize that losing access to you is far worse than any argument you could have had. When they can no longer get a reaction out of you, they lose control completely. They're left flailing, grasping for something they can no longer manipulate. Don't engage. Ignore the cryptic posts, and don't react to the photos. Their game only works if you play. The moment you stop responding is the moment they realize they've lost their power over you. This stage sets the stage for something new to emerge, a fear that brings them crawling back, as when faced with the crushing weight of the truth, the scales begin to fall from their eyes. A new stage of desperation emerges, as now here's where it all comes crashing down: fear. This is the part they never thought would happen, the part where they're actually scared of losing you. For a long time, they were comfortable. They thought you'd always be there, taking your presence for granted, convinced you were the one who'd stick around no matter what. But now you're gone, and they're terrified. The fear hits harder than anything else, and they start to think, what if I've lost them for good? And what if they've moved on to someone else? Think of their emotional state as a balloon, slowly deflating with each passing day of silence. Their attempts to regain control, their manipulative games, have all failed. They are now left with nothing but their own thoughts, and those thoughts are filled with fear. The fear of losing you, the fear of being replaced, the fear of being alone. This fear is a powerful motivator, driving them to take desperate measures to try and win you back. They may try to apologize, to express their regret, to promise you the world. They may even try to manipulate you with guilt, reminding you of the good times you shared and accusing you of being heartless or cruel. The key is to remain steadfast in your resolve. Remember why you left in the first place, and don't allow their fear to sway you from your path. The most effective response is to simply acknowledge their attempts to reach out, but to avoid engaging in any meaningful conversation. Let them know that you have heard them, but that you are not willing to revisit the past. This will leave them in a state of uncertainty, fueling their fear and reinforcing the consequences of their actions. Think of this stage as a test of your self-worth. Are you willing to settle for less than you deserve, just to alleviate their fear? Or are you willing to stand strong in your decision, knowing that you deserve to be with someone who values and appreciates you from the start? Their fear is a reflection of their own insecurities, and it is not your responsibility to alleviate it. You have the right to prioritize your own well-being and to create a life that is fulfilling and meaningful without their presence. As they grapple with their fear, they will eventually come to a new level of understanding and acceptance, allowing you to experience the realization of emotional independence. As when you disappear, you're not just walking away from them. You're walking toward your own freedom, emotional clarity, and peace. And in many relationships, we get caught up in making the other person happy, trying to prove our worth and forgetting our own needs. We forget that we have the power to choose, to walk away, and to demand better for ourselves. But once you've vanished and reclaimed your space, you start to see things clearly, and you no longer need their validation or care what they think, how they feel, or what they want. You realize that your happiness isn't tied to them, and that's the most powerful thing you can experience, your emotional independence. And here's the best part. They feel it too. They realize you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger now, wiser, and more confident. They sense that you've outgrown them and no longer need them to feel complete. And this is when the tables have turned for good. While they're stuck in the same old patterns, you've evolved, you've broken free from the cycle of validation, and their opinion means nothing now. Therefore, own your emotional independence, and don't go back to the old ways, and don't give them the satisfaction of thinking they still have control over your happiness. You've moved beyond that, and that's your biggest win. So what's the lesson here? Stop giving people the chance to take you for granted. Stop being the person who's always there no matter how badly they treat you. The moment you walk away, the moment you vanish, everything changes. You hold the power now. They'll feel it, they'll regret it, and they'll realize they've lost something irreplaceable. This state is not about revenge. It's about reclaiming your narrative, taking control of your happiness, and building a life that is aligned with your true values. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, and that you don't need anyone's permission to claim them. As you move forward on this path, remember the lessons you have learned, the strength you have gained, and the freedom you have found. You are now equipped to create a life that is fulfilling, meaningful, and authentically your own. You have taken back your power, and it belongs to you. To further solidify this journey to freedom, it's also important to set up the pillars to ensure you never fall back into the same position by implementing actions to help create that framework. Reclaim your time. You now have more time for activities that truly fulfill you. Invest in hobbies, passions, or personal projects that bring you joy. Reconnect with friends and family who support your growth and happiness. Fill your life with positive experiences that reinforce your self-worth and celebrate your independence. Set clear boundaries. This is a chance to define what you will and will not tolerate in future relationships. Recognize your worth and set boundaries that protect your energy and well-being. Clearly communicate these boundaries to others and be prepared to enforce them. This will attract people who respect your values and create healthier, more fulfilling connections. Cultivate self-love. This is a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. Practice self-compassion, forgiving yourself for past mistakes and celebrating your strengths. Take care of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Invest in activities that nourish your soul and promote your growth. The more you love yourself, the more resilient and confident you will become. Embrace change. This is a new chapter in your life, an opportunity to create a future that is aligned with your authentic self. Be open to new experiences, new relationships, and new possibilities. Embrace the unknown with courage and curiosity. As you step into your power, you will attract opportunities and experiences that are far more rewarding than anything you have known before. Find purpose. What truly matters to you? What impact do you want to make on the world? Finding your purpose will give you direction and motivation. It will provide you with a compass to guide your decisions and a reason to keep moving forward. As you live in alignment with your purpose, you will experience a deep sense of fulfillment and create a life that is both meaningful and rewarding. The final phase, then, is about the new life you create, the realization of power that you create from within. The new normal you build becomes your new sanctuary, a place where you are in charge. Therefore, if you're ready to reclaim your power and stop being an option, the challenge here is simple. You're about to step into the most powerful version of yourself. If this video resonated with you and shifted your mindset, remember you're in control now. Consider this not just an ending, but a powerful beginning. As you embrace this newfound independence, remember the lessons learned. The goal isn't to inflict pain or seek revenge, but to reclaim your own self-worth and create a life that aligns with your authentic self. This is a journey of self-discovery, resilience, and empowerment. To hold this newfound power is also to be responsible with the freedom you've now created. And what will you do with it? How do you intend to apply this learning for all the people to come who are hoping to make meaningful connections with you? The strength of these realizations and the freedom that they hold is often the strongest catalyst to ensuring you will not go back into bad situations of relationship again. As such, take the gift of this new information and let it shine the pathway forward. As you move forward, remember that true strength comes from within. It's about knowing your worth, honoring your boundaries, and living a life that is true to yourself. Embrace your independence, celebrate your resilience, and create a future that is filled with joy, purpose, and authentic connections. The world is waiting for you to step into your power and shine your light. So, go forth and create a life that is truly your own. There are no more guidelines. There's only the road ahead and the person you'll be as you walk it. In summary, the journey of disappearing from someone's life unfolds through 9 intense emotional stages. The sting of rejection, the void of missing you, overwhelming curiosity, deep self-reflection, the urge to pursue you, the battle between relief and regret, the desire to play the game, the crushing weight of silence, and the fear that brings them crawling back. Ultimately, this process leads to the realization of your own emotional independence, a powerful understanding that you are complete and worthy without the need for their validation. By walking away, setting boundaries, and prioritizing your well-being, you reclaim your power and create a life that is aligned with your authentic self.